How do beach marks show a material's failure history? Have you ever wondered how engineers figure out why a material failed? One fascinating clue comes from something called beach marks. These are visible patterns that appear on the surface of materials that have experienced fatigue or stress corrosion cracking. They look like crescent-shaped or arc-like rings that spread out from the point where the crack first started. Beach marks form because the growth of a fatigue crack is not always a smooth process. Sometimes, the crack pauses due to changes in load or environmental conditions. Each time the crack stops and then starts again, it leaves behind a distinct mark. This is similar to how the tide leaves lines on a beach, which is why we call them beach marks. When engineers examine beach marks, they can learn a lot about the failure history of a material. For instance, these marks can show where the crack began and the path it took as it grew. The spacing and shape of the marks can tell us about the variations in loading or environmental conditions that the material faced during its service life. Additionally, beach marks can indicate changes in the rate of crack growth. If a crack grows faster or slower due to different stress levels, this will be reflected in the pattern of the beach marks. By studying these patterns, failure analysts can determine the direction in which the crack was propagating and how the part was loaded throughout its life. In some cases, if there are service records available, the size and spacing of beach marks can be matched with specific events or operational cycles. This helps to reconstruct the timeline of the failure, providing a clearer picture of what happened. It is important to note that beach marks are different from microscopic striations. Striations are finer lines that correspond to individual load cycles and requiring magnification to see. Beach marks, on the other hand, are large enough to be visible without special equipment, giving a broader overview of the crack growth history. Understanding beach marks is beneficial for engineers and investigators. It helps them identify how and why a component failed. They can determine whether the fatigue was progressive, meaning it developed over time, or sudden, indicating a rapid failure. This knowledge can also help assess whether operational changes or environmental factors contributed to the crack growth. By examining beach marks, engineers can improve design and maintenance practices to prevent similar failures in the future. These marks act like a natural record etched into the fractured surface, revealing the story of how fatigue cracks developed and advanced until the final failure occurred. This makes beach marks a valuable tool in understanding mechanical breakdowns and product failures in engineering materials.